As the President prepares to deliver the State of the Nation address, communities across the country are watching closely, especially those who are living more vulnerable, more exposed on the margins of society. In areas like Kliptown and informal settlements represented by Abahlali baseMjondolo, residents continue to grapple with deep poverty, rising costs of living and very limited access to basic services. We talk now to the Secretary General of the organization, Thapelo Mohapi, on their expectations from President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address tomorrow. Thapelo, good morning to you. Thank you as always for your time. Appreciate it. Talk to us about the headline concerns that you have going into the State of the Nation address. We know that already informal residents are facing evictions. There's a lack of basic security, lack of basic services. What do you want to hear from the President tomorrow?
Good morning, Iman. Good morning to the viewers. We really appreciate this opportunity. Iman, we call this a state of despair, a state of hopelessness, rather than the state of the nation. Many people in the informal settlements, if you ask them about the expectation on what the President will address tomorrow, they will tell you that it will be lies, it will be promises that are not fulfilled, it will be empty promises that do not lead to actions, do not lead to implementation. So people have lost hope in the government of that day. However, as Abahlali baseMjondolo, we are saying that the government must address the issue of unemployment, the issue of high poverty. We have about 11,000 children that die of malnutrition in this country. We have the high price of food that an ordinary person cannot even afford the basket, a simple basket. So we have seen people cooking wild plants in the informal settlements so that they could go by. So it is unfortunate that 31 years later into democracy that our people continue to live in this way. So we hope that the government will not only talk, this will not be a talk shop where the President comes and says he's going to address poverty, unemployment and inequality that exist, but also implement the universal grant for poor, ordinary people that are unemployed, so that people can go by and be able to have food on the table. It is unfortunate that we are living under this situation in these trying times. So that President, when he takes the podium, he must remember that he's speaking to somebody in the informal settlement, somebody in the rural area, somebody who's on an empty stomach, somebody that needs hope, somebody that needs encouragement, and so that we are all benefits out of the State of the Nation address. But the State of the Nation address must also be accompanied by the next week budget speech, which will speak directly to what needs to be done in order to implement the universal wage grants of 1,500 rand to those who are unemployed.
Thapelo, I'm interested in getting closer to the picture on the ground. I mean, this is your daily bread. That's where your office literally is. It's amongst people that you've just described to us now. The statistics that we have are that between 4 and 5 million people live in what we term informal settlements in South Africa, but there could be another 10 million more that are living in what could be termed urban slums. Talk to us about the numbers of people that we are actually referring to. And when you mention the levels of poverty and exposure that they live with every single day, what does that look like?
Iman, the situation on the ground is terrible. When you speak to the people who do not have services, who are seen as people who do not count, it is very, discouraging when you see such conditions where people are burnt alive in the informal settlements because there's no access to water. Some people in the informal settlements, young people, are loitering aimlessly in the informal settlements because there are no job opportunities. You have, young people turning into other things in order for them to survive. I'm afraid that in this country we are delegating the issue of unemployment, the issue of poverty to the law enforcement. Some people are forced into issues of crime because the government of the day does not respond to issues that people are facing on the ground. And it is unfortunate that the people who are affected on a daily basis, who today would not know what to eat, it is very unfortunate for children who don't know where their next meal will come from. So those are the ordinary issues that are taking place. I mean, 75% of the people that we service and work with in the informal settlements are the ones who are unemployed, who don't know where they get their next meal from. And of course, we have, asked government to also, maybe the president to speak on is the fact of the increasing, and food has made to be a commodity, a profit-making scheme. We're seeing that CEO of these huge outlets are earning millions of rands per annum at the expense of the poor. And we are saying that the government must tax the poor, the rich, in order for the poor to benefit. So it's time for South Africa, if we are saying that we want a South Africa that works for everyone, those who have must provide for those who don't have. And therefore, government must not try to protect the private sector or any other person, the corporates, at the expense of the poor. Yes, of course, we want business, we want jobs to be there, but at this current juncture, we want our people to actually benefit and get the grants that are required for them to actually buy food so that people can survive.
I'm going to get to the policy issues that you're expecting to hear from the president, in a more targeted way in just a moment. But on what you said right at the very beginning, which is, one can only imagine, is so real, the state of helplessness, hopelessness, and despair, lies, empty promises, things that the communities you're representing are told that never materialize. Talk to us a little bit more about that. And I'm interested in the disconnect between that reality and whether you believe anyone is actually listening in government.
Yes, I think in this country, of course, we've always had the crisis when it comes to the implementation. However, we have seen recently that the only people who, the people who are rich, are only concerned about enriching their families and themselves. In other words, the political elite in this country have forgotten about the people on the ground. They have not come to the people on the ground, and we are only important to the government and to the political parties or the politicians, for that matter, when it is time for the elections. They will be going into the informal settlement, and many of them would be saying, we did not know that our people are living under these conditions, as if they live in a space somewhere and they don't live with us in our communities. It is because politicians only know us as voters when they need votes, when they are actually, we are banks for votes, so that promises are made and promises will be broken, and then the year after that, promises will be made and promises will be broken. That's why people have lost hope in the government of the day. And that's why we are saying that as Abahlali baseMjondolo, we don't expect anything to come out of the State of the Nation address. And if you speak to the people on the ground in the informal settlements, in Guaduguza, in Gauteng, and everywhere else, they will tell you that there is a day-to-day situation where they live under extreme, abject poverty, and the government has no way of responding to that.
Yeah. Well, you've taken a decision recently, right in the last elections, anyway, the last national elections, to punish the ANC when it comes to those votes. You don't want to be, as you say, just a voting bank for the then governing party. Where are you with that now?
Well, Iman, we've come to realize that politicians are all the same, regardless of what had happened. But ours has always been that the ANC-led government has, been in power for 30 years, and they feel that the power that we've been giving to them, they are entitled to it. And sometimes they don't service our people. So the GNU, at this point in time, I want to say that we are engaging with the Minister of Human Settlements, we are engaging with the COCTA Minister, and we are engaging with all MECs in these provinces as well. Yes, but we must also always leave a gap for disappointment when it comes to politicians. But the doors have been opened for us. We are engaging with all governments at local level, provincial level, at national level, at the level of the minister. We were invited by the president to address in the innovation builds technology conference or summits that took place in Nasrec. So we are seeing that there is some recognition. However, we have been here before, and we want the implementation to be done. We want informal settlement to also create employment, create skills, create be an asset for our people, so that everyone is able to have a home where they can live. But a home needs to have food. It needs to have people that are employed, that people who can provide and put bread on the table.
When you talked about 11,000 children dying of malnourishment in a country where there is food, we know the official stat is around 27% of all of South Africa's children are either stunted or severely malnourished. You talk about, as you say, all of the very real issues that people wake up with and go to bed with every single day. Is time running out for our government to deal with this? Do we expect, I mean, I don't want to call it an Arab Spring moment, but something that comes close to it, where people just say enough is enough, and we just see, this sort of massive challenge on what we understand to be the state?
Yes, I think one of the challenges that we have in as far as food is concerned is not that there isn't food. A lot of food goes to waste. A lot of food is not distributed in the manner that an ordinary person who lives in the informal settlement in the rural areas can actually benefit. And this is, of course, food has become a profit-making commodity for those who run these outlets. So that's why we are demanding, for instance, the outlets such as Shoprite Checkers to reduce the prices so that the people who are poor, who earn that SRD of 370 can actually also afford the food basket. So those are some of the things that we want the government to engage. But I want to say that the issue of hunger in South Africa is an urgent issue that should have been engaged as far as yesterday. So it is not something that we need to be speaking about. It's something that needs to be engaged urgently and be done with urgently, so that everyone have access to food. In this particular case, food is there, but it is not distributed fairly to those who need it. So it is unfortunate that in a country of ours, with this wealth that it has, that there are children who are dying of malnutrition, and also you have started children who do not get enough nutrition, and so forth. So one of the things that we have is we will be submitting in the hearings by the South African Human Rights Commission, who are on a hunger hearing across the country. We will be presenting that to say food should not be made a commodity. No one should die on an empty because they could not afford food. These outlets must be able to provide for affordable food for all our people in this.
We've really got to reckon with our conscience there, Thapelo. Thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And I guess you, along with all of us, will be watching with great anticipation tomorrow in the 7 o'clock hour.